This man sends it to the moon. Here's Hiroto's first run in the final.
Left foot forward, natural way of riding, going to rotate backside, turn his back to the takeoff right here.
What you just witnessed was the shattering of a record, the continuation of an obsession, and the product of half a century of progression.
That was a 23:40!
In the roughly 45 years since the birth of freestyle snowboarding as we know it today, how did we get from here to here? To understand what led us here, we have to go back to the beginning, to the rivalry that started it all.
One was East Coast, one was absolutely West Coast. One was more buttoned down, the other one was absolutely just, living the California dream. Tom Sims and Jake Burton.
Jake Burton and Tom Sims are widely accredited as the founding fathers of modern snowboarding, and rightfully so. The rivalry between the two stemmed from the different goals each had for the sport. Burton's business-oriented approach to snowboarding, which pushed the technology forward while helping the sport gain acceptance from ski resorts, versus Sims, who as a former skateboarder and surfer, embraced the sport's free riding and freestyle aspects early on, and ended up paving the way for competitions. The West Coast versus East Coast rivalry was the main focus as snowboarding evolved between the 70s and 80s. It's worth noting, however, that Sherman Poppin invented the Snurfer in 1965, which inspired both Burton and Sims to get into snowboarding and start their respective companies.
I think the future for the sport is great. I think you're going to see, bigger air. It gets bigger every year. Bigger pipes at ski areas, better grooming, better videos, definitely.
Burton's wishes would not go unanswered as the sport would take off in the mid-80s. And at that time, there was no freestyle rider more prominent than Terry Kidwell. In the progression timeline of snowboarding, the first 180s and 360s are hard to pinpoint, but are definitely in line with Burton, Sims, and other riders of the time. However, Terry Kidwell, aka the father of freestyle, who rode for Sims, greatly progressed the sport and would end up taking the world champ title 4 years in a row from 1984 to 1987. The 540s that Kidwell performed in the Tahoe City Pipe would not only cement him as one of the earliest to do the trick, but the best in both name and record. Kidwell would not go uncontested forever though, and as the 1980s came to an end, a new name began to make headlines.
Snowboarding is just living to me. It's not really play, it's not work, it's just having fun living. Lets me get in touch with my inner happiness.
Known as the godfather of free riding, Craig Kelly was one of the most influential snowboarders ever. He rode for Sims, but after 5 years he switched to Burton's team in 1987 and never looked back. Kelly would take Kidwell's top spot in competitions and would go on to follow up the previous dynasty by winning the title of World Snowboard Champion from the years 88 to 91. Another 4-peat. While Kelly would ultimately choose the backcountry over the competitive space, before his departure, he mentored what is arguably the greatest snowboarder of all time.
Det så jeg ganske tidlig at Terje hadde talent for at alt han var med på, det ble han ofte god i og mange ganger best.
Where do you think the sport is going to go?
It's going to go far.
I plan to make a whole video on Torii that goes more in depth on why he was so important for snowboarding, but for this video, I'll keep it brief. In the words of Rob Reed, Håkansson took the young sport of snowboarding and revolutionized nearly every aspect of it. Torii Håkansson, just like Craig Kelly, is a contender for the greatest snowboarder of all time. In the 1990s, the halfpipe saw its most dominant performance yet, with Torii winning the World Championship title 3 times between 1993 and 97, and the European Championship title each and every time he participated between the years 1991 and 97.
The 19-year-old has had an impressive career.
Håkansson's ability was so far ahead of the competition in the 90s, and his clean riding, huge airs, and 720s in the pipe set a new bar for snowboarding. There's a quote in the movie First Descent that sums up his domination succinctly. Torii was the first snowboarder during this period to achieve a rock and roll hero status.
It's Torii Håkansson who took the men's first place trophy at the O'Neill Masters World Cup in Ziesertal.
Up to this point, we've covered some of the most influential figures and riders in early snowboarding history, and how they shaped the sport as it came into the mainstream. As the 90s concluded, technology and terrain would no longer be the limiting factor for progression. The only thing stopping snowboarders from breaking through the ceiling was themselves.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, happy 2000.
At the turn of the millennia, it became apparent to snowboarders that unlike skateboarding, where it was easier to go bigger in the pipe, snowboarders would need to utilize the backcountry or build bigger park jumps to progress the sport. And so they got to work. At the forefront of this period was Kingpin Productions, one of the greatest crews to ever take on steel and snow. From the years 1992 to 2004, Kingpin director and producer Whitey McConaughey would put out 17 of the most recognized snowboarding films in existence, with riders consisting of Mikey LeBlanc, Ali Goulet, and Chad Otterstrom, just to name a few. In the 1999 to 2000 season, Kingpin would take on a new rider, who still in his early years would be the mark of a new era in snowboarding. That rider was Geeky Ruff. You've actually already been watching footage of Geeky from his part in Kingpin's 2000 film, Destroyer, and 12 minutes and 2 seconds in, we're going to see what was likely the earliest attempt at what would end up being the start of snowboarding's most divisive obsession. Within that 6-second clip exists the earliest recorded double cork in snowboarding history, a trick that is now foundational for all freestyle riders and involves 2 full off-axis rotations. As we start talking about bigger tricks, it's important to know what naming conventions snowboarding uses. Let's take GG's frontside double 1080. The use of frontside indicates that he started his spin by facing the direction of the landing with his chest. The use of double refers to how many inversions occurred during the trick, meaning how many times did the legs go above the head. Finally, we just add up the inversions and the spins, with each inversion counting as 360 degrees. For the 1080, that means we add 2 corks to a singular normal spin to equal 1080 degrees total, making the frontside double 1080. Recently, I was fortunate enough to interview Whitey, the director behind Kingpin Productions, and during that interview, I asked about Geeky's attempt, and this is what he had to say.
I don't know if he was 100% committing to it or not. He was having this really fun day, you know, Geeky was like 18, 19 then. He was just one of those kids, man, it's like, how you could just tell how much he loves snowboarding. And it's just like completely fun for him.
We were in Salt Lake, it was my first year, so the double cork, that was more like, I did not know what I was doing, and I was already like 5 shots deep that day, so might as well give it a whirl.
I'd like to note that when it comes to inversions and rotations, we can't dismiss the rodeo, Michael Chuck, and other tricks that progress the sport forward. and I plan to cover that history in a future video. There's too many influential riders to fit into one timeline, so bear with me for now, and let me know who you thought deserved a place in this storyline. If Gigi had landed the trick, it would have been the first double cork 1080 in history, but such a milestone would have to wait to be rightfully claimed. However, before the 1080 could be reached, snowboarding would have to catch up to skateboarding, which saw Tony Hawk perform a world's first at X Games in June of 1999. That world's first, of course, was the 900.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, look at this! Tony Hawk, everybody!
And in 2003, the sports would become a line thanks to the efforts of the godfather of jibbing, otherwise known as the Don, J.P. Walker. It's been 3 years since Gigi Ruff's 1080 attempt, and MacDog Productions is currently working on their next big film. Just like Kingpin, MacDog is one of the greats when it comes to snowboard production companies, and actively produced snowboard films from the years 1988 to 2008. In 2003, MDP released Shakedown, which starred J.P. Walker, the man who's been recognized as Snowboarder Magazine's Rider of the Year 6 times, more than any other rider in history. His opening part in Shakedown would not disappoint, and 6.5 minutes in, J.P. Walker landed this trick. That was a frontside double cork 900, the last bastion before going above 1,000 degrees. And while the trick was landed in the backcountry, it was at this time that big air competitions became part of the event lineup, with FIS Big Air beginning in 2003. As competitions got tougher, it was only a matter of time before the next rotation was achieved. And for that, we'll have to visit the last video part entry of this list, which belongs to none other than Travis Rice. Absinthe Films is yet another legendary production studio, and in 2004, they released Pop to wide acclaim. Rice's part in the film starts with a clip that we'll focus on, and before I say anything else, let's just watch. It took 4 years after Gigi's attempt to actually land the trick, and who better to stomp it than Travis Rice. His frontside double 1080 over Pyramid Gap in Utah marks the halfway point in our progression timeline. But to some, this is where snowboarders should have stopped. From here on, the era of social media clips, airbags, and spin-to-win disdain began to divide the community in two, but that wouldn't stop riders from going bigger. However, going bigger is easier said than done. But thanks to David Benedict, the genius behind Robot Food Productions, snowboard jumps were about to change.
And I still don't see us or myself or Christopher and I as a contest organizer. It was more like things luckily fell into place.
Until now, the jumps that riders were hitting weren't suited for safety or airtime, but in 2006, and with the help of Red Bull, Benedict hosted the Gap Session project. The jump used techniques that Benedict and his crew had pioneered in the years prior, which he discusses in this Bombhole episode.
The way, most people had built jumps was just like take off a long deck and a landing, if you knuckled, then basically broke both your legs or something. We stumbled upon this hill in Aalborg that was basically just like a ramp and then almost like a step over with like a endless landing. And I remember we hit it and we were like, this feels like twice the airtime than any other jump, plus you're never high off the ground. We were starting to think maybe we could recreate this kind of feature and have a safer way to try stuff.
Not only was the jump suited to progressing the sport, but the Gap Session project invited the world's best to test the potential of a new training tool, the airbag. Whatever your opinion is on them, breaking records still comes down to the rider's skill. And during the Red Bull Gap Session, Benedict himself would take the spotlight.
You fucking kidding? No way. Frontside double cork, 12.
That was a double cork 12, the first of its kind. But more importantly, it was evidence that the type of jump it was landed on could help move the sport forward. But to make the most of the new jumps, snowboarders would need to get more comfortable being upside down. And as the 2010s arrived, it would be the Norwegian flag on the podium. A man capable of beating out Shaun White. A man named Torstein Horgmo. It's the year 2010, and Torstein Horgmo is winning competitions left and right, but he's not happy with the status quo. Having only just learned to double cork in the last year, Torstein was a relatively new face at just 22 years old, and yet, it would be on a June morning that Torstein would record this video.
We're snowboarding in Norway, Sommersveden. Jump is looking really good, so might as well try it. I haven't seen it been landed. Learning doubles was fun, but this will just be crazy.
Torstein's frontside triple cork 1440 rocked the snowboarding world of 2010, and marks the beginning of our next era. From here on, snowboarders were getting exponentially better thanks to improved jumps and the consistent use of airbags. While Torstein was the first snowboarder to land a 1440, it would be only a year later when Mark McMorris would catch up with his own backside triple in 2011. At this point, the focus for most snowboarders was to increase the number of inversions they were capable of, but only a few months after McMorris's 1440, someone would break that mold. To really appreciate what I'm about to show you, it's important to understand that while inversions are technically more dangerous, they make it easier to achieve a higher degree spin. Knowing that makes this next trick by Ulrik Bederscher all the more insane. Like I said before, this was only a few months after McMorris's 1440, and yet as you just saw, Ulrik was able to put down a 1620. But it wasn't just any 16, it was a flat 16, which means that no inversions occurred. As this took place in 2011, it would take another 4 years before someone would go bigger. So let's fast forward to 2015, Livigno, Italy, where British Olympian Billy Morgan is currently waiting to drop in.
What the fuck? Oh shit. Perfect. Fuck. Oh fuck.
5 full rotations, 4 of them off axis. With a backside quad cork 1800, Billy Morgan had made history. After the monumental achievement, the snowboarding world looked on in both awe and regret, as some saw this moment as another step towards snowboarding's deterioration into aerial skiing. Regardless of opinion, the 1800 had been landed, and quad corks were the next new frontier for big air snowboarders. But further progress would be difficult, and it was at this time that a new country would take over bigger podiums. When snowboarding debuted at the 1998 Winter Olympics, the only freestyle discipline for snowboarders was the halfpipe. However, as time went on and the sport got more popular, 2 more freestyle disciplines were added: slopestyle in 2014 and big air in 2018. The important thing to know here is that as snowboarding turned into a commodified sport, countries that had yet to join the competitive fray began training new athletes for the sole purpose of being the best. Just as the original airbag had made the sport safer and progression more accessible, new sloped airbags began to pop up that allowed for even faster results. These new types of airbags were no more prominent than in Japan. As snowboarders once again adapted to the new competitive scene, Japanese rider Yuki Kidono would set the bar even further. Yuki Kidono had broken the record, this time with a backside quad cork 1980. A half rotation more than Billy Morgan's quad cork 2 years earlier. Snowboarding was now on the precipice of the final frontier, and as the 2010s came to an end, one man took matters into his own hands. I am of course talking about Hiroto Ogiwara.
That's fucking it! That's it! Come on!
Born in Japan in 2005 and riding since age 3, Hiroto has been a dominant force ever since he started competing professionally in 2017. After winning all of Japan's junior ski championship titles, as well as the slopestyle championship at the World Rookie Tour in both 2021 and 2022, Hiroto still wasn't done, and in April of the same year, he would have his chance, thanks to the Nines. Started in 2008 by free skier Nico Zasek, the Nines would be the perfect place for Hiroto to test his limits, as the 2022 course had a jump that suited big air athletes. It wouldn't take long for 16-year-old Hiroto to become a spectacle of the week-long event, and on Wednesday, April 6th, obsession turned to fruition.
We're so close. You gonna do it the next time?
Yeah.
Yeah, boy! Let's go!
The barrier had been broken. 6 full rotations, 2,000 degrees had been passed. The first 2160 in snowboarding history landed by 16-year-old Hiroto Ogiwara at the 2022 Swatch Nines. It's debated whether his world's first was also the first quintuple cork. I like to think it is, which would make this trick a backside quintuple 2160. It had taken him over 5 tries. But on the 6th, he succeeded. However, as you know, this wouldn't be the end of Hiroto's story.
I'm so happy.
We just did a triple cork plus a double cork.
In one air.
One air, 5 flips.
I'd like to see the sport really continue to grow because I'd like to ride with more people and have more friends into it. I don't want it to lose its edge at all.
Hiroto, what a story.
You know what's not an advantage? Riding with a fractured wrist that you injured just this morning.
He's here in the final.
Put a cast on it! Watch what I do. And not only has he been riding, he has been making history here tonight. 2160 in the playoff. I think he's got to go back to it.
He's an X Games rookie, and if you haven't watched him drop in air traffic control, look out. This man sends it to the moon. Here's Hiroto's first run in the final.
Left foot forward, natural way of riding, going to rotate backside, turn his back to the takeoff right here. Watch this takeoff. 360, 720, 1080.
Oh my.
1440, 1800.
Oh, I'm gonna throw
2160.
up. Oh my God, I'm nauseous.
2340. Melon. You're joking. You're making me sick.
Craig.
Oh my.
Incredible.
Ridiculous. Truly ridiculous.
A 97.5.